I spent a lot of time coming into the woods to be with God. I would wave ferns and dance and sing Hosanna, and I loved that I could pray really loud and no one else would hear me. And I did pray a lot for my spouse, and a lot of other people prayed too. I didn't have many prayers at first, but at church people would just randomly start praying for my husband. So I thought, well, I guess he exists. I should start praying for him. I did home support for seniors, and whenever I'd walk in to see an old man, they'd be like, "What? You're not married yet? What's wrong with those guys? Like, what's wrong with their eyes? They must be blind." And I felt complimented, but it got kind of old after a while, and I would always say, I'm waiting for the right one. I want to get married, but I don't want to settle.
Trying to imagine back when I was in college days, I took a course marriage and family, and we talk about what kind of characteristics you would like in a spouse. And my first reaction is holy and hot, and it was kind of just jumped in my mind and kind of rhyming away, you know. And Melody really fulfilled these two things. I think holy is she's a woman of God, and she chases after God's heart, and she loves praying, and I find that really attractive to me. And she's hot and she's beautiful in my eyes, you know. And
so I was living with my friend Austin and Leah, and Forrest and Austin went to Trinity Western together, and there was another classmate from Japan who was visiting, so Austin invited them both over for dinner.
Of course, my friend came visit from Japan and hang out with Austin's family. I didn't really know who Melody was, and we kind of, from my opinion, we kind of hit it off talking about China, and really just feel the ease talking to her. And
I actually thought that Forrest and the girl from Japan were dating because they came as a couple, and so my radar was like not on at all, which was probably a good thing because I relaxed. And I just remember this smiley guy wearing sunglasses and talking about China and understanding, because I had just taught in China and Forrest grew up there, and when I told my stories, he would give this knowing laugh, like, yeah, I get it. And that was really cool. It was really refreshing, and I had a great time with him.
After we first met, I kind of thinking, oh, what's a good way to connect with Melody? You know, I'm kind of shy, so I Facebook her, basically, hey, it was great to meet you and talk about China. Would you mind hang out with me sometime, you know? And the message sent, basically I didn't get any response. It went silent for about 8 months. And 8 months later, I got a message in my inbox, Melody Rose, saying, hey, I'm in town and hang out with my family. My niece was just born, you know, and I'm just visiting family. Do you want to hang out? It wasn't until September, and she had a birthday party, and so I was there, kind of like really smeared by her, trying to talk to her all the time,
smiling at me the whole evening.
And basically another good friend of hers, she's saying, hey, I'm trying to catch up with Forrest, but you took all the time, you know, and hit it off. From my opinion, we hit it off from that point of time.
Yeah, and what spurred me on to hanging out with Forrest was I was feeling better, and I'd really God had rekindled my relationship with him, and I was in love with Jesus again, and I felt like, okay, I have a foundation again. I have a base. I'm not lost in the dark anymore. And I just remembered Forrest, and I was like, oh, well, maybe I should hang out with him. And so I sent the message, and I was pretty careful. I didn't get very emotionally thinking about it. I just thought, it'd be fun to hang out with a guy. Whereas Forrest was more attracted to me, I was more attracted to the idea of hanging out with a guy because I didn't really know him at all. And
yeah, she said yes, thankfully. And so I pick her up, changing the scene. I pick her up at her house, and her friend Anna really dressed her up. She looks stunning, and I was totally mesmerized by her, you know. And I was like, wow, you look beautiful. She has her hair down, and she has this beautiful black dress, and I said to her, are you ready for adventure?
I really fell in love with Forrest through our conversations on the phone and Skype. I think the first date, the big dinner dancing, I was just like trying to hold it together. And I felt really calm during the time, but it was still kind of a blur. And really I got to know him through the phone, and I remember he was like, hey, do you want to pray together? And I'm always asking my friends if they want to pray, and I'm always the initiator in that, and he initiated. So it's like, yeah, I'd love to pray together. And then I remember talking with Anna, who dressed me up, and she was like, okay, like with long distance, be careful, don't get too deep. Change the subject. So I was like, okay. And then our second conversation, Forrest was like, oh, I heard this thing about marriage and how when you get married, you become one, like physically and emotionally. And I was like, oh, I think this is a time when you need to change the subject. I think I fell in love with Forrest because he just pursued me so like wholeheartedly and just really spoke to my love language of prayer, and his prayers were so beautiful. And
I really chase after God, asking God, and who would you like? Well, am I being celibate or am I being married? And something really speak to me is I would like someone really love China and love the Chinese culture, love me as who I am. And that's where Melody come into picture, and her passion for China is contagious, I would say, and she has made a lot of Chinese friends in Vancouver. and her passion for God is also so obvious to me, and I just falling with love with her every day.